Lady Dimitrescu. What the f is wrong with people this year? Now there's plenty of different ways I could have approached this video. I could have taken the investigative journalism approach and just talked about Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village, which looks great. I know it brings in the clicks, and it's the 9'8" vampire bae with the heels and the hat. That's right, Lady Dimitrescu, Demi Lovato. That's the one. So let's talk character design. So if you've been self-quarantining and under a rock and missed all the trailers for Resident Evil 8, good for you. Thank you for doing the Lord's work. Seriously, thank you for thinking about others in this trying time, and for your troubles, I will give you the rundown. So Resident Evil 8, or Village, or Vatage, where we have protagonist Ethan Winters from the previous game, once again thrown into a spooky town where some spooky things happened, apparently sparked by Chris Redfield. That's the buff boy from the games. This, of course, leads Winters into a creepy castle with all the spooky shenanigans that you would expect from the Resident Evil franchise. Occult rituals, psychotic villagers, and what everyone came here for, a big castle. Just kidding, it's Vampire Mommy. Now, let's talk about Giant Vampire Bae, and let's figure out why she has Twitter so horny right now. So Alcina Dimitrescu is a tall, elegantly dressed vampire and mother to her 3 vampire daughters. Now, her age is hard to gauge because she's a f***ing vampire, but physically she resembles someone in their 50s. Here's a fun fact. Her design is based off a Japanese urban legend of Hachishakasunama. That's not it. Hachisakusama. Dude, nailed it. An 8-foot-tall female spirit who wears an all-white dress, a big hat, and is known for kidnapping children. Dimitrescu's most notable feature, aside from her turn-of-the-century almost styled clothing, is the fact that she's, I don't know, fucking 9 feet tall. Do you know how tall that is? Let's put that into perspective. So Wilkie's about 6'2", and he's a pretty tall dude. She's 3 feet taller than him. For comparison, let's look at Mr. X. Mr. X, pretty tall dude, pretty big guy, only 7 feet tall. You know, I used to think that I could fight Mr. X, but let's be real with ourselves. He would wash me like a bag of laundry. Now imagine me at 5'11", taking on Lady Dimitrescu. She would dominate me, mommy. And that's where we start talking about fetishes. Now the internet is a horny place where you can be vocal about what makes you horny and meet like-minded horny people and relish in what makes you horny together. I want to preface this by saying this next example are not my words. I didn't write this episode, but bear with me for a second. For example, if you like armpits, you can find dozens of armpit enthusiast groups on the internet. Don't ask me where, but you can DM Wilkie, he probably knows. What are we getting at here? Toromori Takano, the art director of Resident Evil 8, knew exactly how many horny boxes Lady Dimitrescu would tick off. Let's actually take account of how many fetishes this lady satisfies. She's a vampire, and even after Twilight, vampires are super fetishized, especially on the internet. She's an attractive older woman with huge tracts of land, so that satisfies the whole older woman fetish. The way she's dressed, I'm sure, gets somebody's socks off. Somebody out there's really horny for the turn of the century in ragtime. It's hinted at in her design, but more so in her daughter's. It definitely is the big titty goth GF aesthetic going on here. And, of course, her height. There you go. And with that, we have the giantess fetish. And we're not talking giantess like tall girls that are like 6 feet, no. We're talking like mountain lady from My Hero Academia type ladies. You can definitely DM Wilkie about that one. That's what we do on this show. We kink shame. All of these traits combined, compared to her treatment of the player character in the trailer, basically means that the internet's suspicions are correct. She's the ultimate dom. By dom, we mean dominant. Those are people who like to dominate in BDSM sessions. I really didn't have to explain that. Can you tell Wilkie wrote this one? With the freedom that comes with posting on social media, you can share with others just how badly you want to be whipped, or to whip someone. Or in the case of Lemmy Dimitrescu, wrap her fingers around my neck and choke me as she lifts me off the ground, the ease of action showing just how helpless I am in front of her, all the while curling the ends of her painted lips into a smile, letting me know exactly who's in control. Wilkie, what the Dimitrescu can spit in my mouth too. Of course, it would be difficult to talk about all this internet simping if we didn't talk about a phenomena as old as time, or at least as old as internet time. Rule 34. That's right, boys and girls. We're getting into some internet history with this one. So the infamous internet rule states that if it exists, there is porn of it, and if there isn't, it's being made. The rule itself is generally agreed to have first appeared in a 2003 webcomic drawn by Peter Morley Suter to depict his shock at seeing Calvin and Hobbes parody porn. The internet's kind of always been weird. But it wasn't really until around 2008, with image boards like 4chan, that the Rule 34 as law attitude really started to become prominent. More prominent and more mainstream. Tumblr used to be the spot for exploration of sexual identity as well as sexual endeavors, and then the great cleansing of 2018 happened. But the kind of expression of being horny on main didn't go away. No, instead it found its way to other platforms, namely Twitter and Reddit. All of a sudden, what would have been weird kinks 10 years ago are now surprisingly commonplace. People are exploring their fetishes more and more often than not, they do it through fictional characters. All I have to do is talk about the Sonic fanbase, and I'm sure a good percentage of you shuddered at that thought. And so here we are, in the year of our Lord 2021, and Lady Dimitrescu is flooding our TLs. On a more serious note, it goes to show you the overall care and attention, and moreover, the ability to read a room Capcom has when designing characters. And of course, beyond the horny factor, there's a lot of great design and really intricate details about this character that we can go on for days about. As of the release of this video, Resident Evil 8 isn't out yet, but the buzz online is ridiculous. And if anything, this goes to show you that, I would hope at least, Capcom is well aware of how the internet would have reacted to this kind of design. Do I think internet horniness was considered when designing this character? Maybe. But it definitely goes to show you the kind of publicity that we're dealing with here. And in some ways, it's some of the smartest. I mean, if you're gonna go the route of fetishization, there's many worse ways you could have gone about it. With as misogynistic as video games tend to be in their female character designs, this one takes it a step in a very interesting direction. One that I think opens up a decent commentary about how we design women in video games, particularly antagonistic women. Perfect example, Dimitrescu and by extension her daughters have gotten the attention of artists, cosplayers, and fans of the game alike. The character has sort of taken on a life of her own, fueled by the way fans feel about her. I mean, it's a step in the right direction, all things considered. Video games don't have exactly a great history when it comes to representing women, particularly antagonistic ones. I think with Lady Dimitrescu, a lot of people really identify with the sense of power and agency she has. She's not a damsel in distress, and she's not some ugly space demon. She's a smart, dominant woman, and I think for a lot of people that's a nice breath of fresh air. Or you know what? Maybe it is just the fact that she's a big titty goth GF with big mommy milkers. So what do you think? Have you seen the trailers or the new gameplay footage of Resident Evil 8? Are you interested in it at all, or do you think it's just a rehash of Resident Evil 7 with some big titties in it? As always, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Over here, somewhere in this video, there's another video you might like. If you like what we do, by all means, you can support us on Patreon. It's greatly appreciated. It helps us continue to run the show. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. I'm your boy Mike Dangerous, and this is Talking Shots.